Ben Hogan, in his iconic book, The 5 Lessons, advocated very strongly for a swing path going through the ball that he described as in to out. Now that term essentially means that the club is traveling on a clock face, from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock through the ball, and not the logical one, which is from 3 to 9 toward the target. Now 10 years earlier than Ben Hogan's book, Percy Boomer had, he thought, approached the subject of in to out with a certain amount of caution, because it was a term that was starting to be used. And he thought that it was for fixing a slice. Ben Hogan famously didn't want a hook, so it's worthy of a chat. So there was some confusion, because Ben Hogan, very famously as well, was deeply involved in trying to stop from hooking. He didn't want to go left. He couldn't win a tournament until he figured out how to do that, how to stop from going left. And yet, interestingly, Percy Boomer, who started his apprenticeship at the beginning of the 20th century, was taught by his head professional, Mr. Curtis, at Queen's Park in Bournemouth, that he needed to learn how to stop people from slicing, because that's your primary job in golf, and that everyone slices, and can you fix that? So he thought that the feel of an in-to-out swing was a solution for slicing. In other words, making the ball go more left. And here's Ben Hogan trying desperately to avoid going to the left and adopting the same in-to-out attack. So here's how I resolve those two seemingly contradictory elements. In golf, the swinging component that really matters, they're really the shoulder yoke and the arms and club, is the formulation of the left arm, which is kept straight, and the club. That's the item that is swinging. And it's attached to the left shoulder. What's very interesting is that the shoulders are, of course, wider than they are deep. And so as we turn, and it's agreed with all of these champions and these authors that the turn is necessary, the left shoulder, from which emanates the arms and club, the left arm and club, is now arguably 8 inches forward of where it was at address. Now, if you don't swing in to out on the downswing, or at least feel that you are, then your club is going to follow the shoulder, and the shoulder doesn't have many choices. It really has to get back to the address position. So it's moving from this 8 inches forward back to its original position, which is, we hope, what you have it in by the time your club goes through the ball. And that means that everything's being pulled in this direction. The club, as you can see, is being thrown what is called out to in from 2 to 8, which is where the slice comes from. So Ben Hogan, because of his efforts with the left wrist being flexed, although they mistakenly called it pronated as he went through the ball, went from a relatively open position here to this very late hit with the flexion, and he attacked from in to out so that he could actually pull hard with the body. He advocated starting the swing with the hips, pull hard with the body and not have it go left. A good golfer with great hands would go left, the rest of the world slices. And so it's all to do with that change between where the shoulder starts on the beginning of the downswing and where it's supposed to end up. So back to the feel. The feeling is that you're swinging from in to out, but feeling is not to be trusted, because there's a few milliseconds of dwell between what you're feeling and when it actually occurred. It can be the travel of 2 or 3 feet of arm movement before you feel what you've done. So if you're feeling an in to out swing in this part of the attack, which is before you hit the ball, your club is actually at the ball when you're feeling that. And so it's very important, as Percy Boomer obviously understood, to say that it's the feeling but not necessarily the truth, because back again to Ben Hogan, if you're pulling hard with your hips, everything's traveling in this direction and you're countermanding the tendency to hit a pull or a slice by feeling that you're attacking from in to out. But in fact, as Boomer said, it's traveling down the target line at impact, and as Hogan proved, wasn't going to hook.